My grandfather raised his glass during my 28th birthday supper and uttered a phrase that cut the air like a blade. Emma, reveal how you've invested your $3 million inheritance after 25 years. The chuckles at the table halted in midair. Utensils paused. Even the flames appeared to pause. I sensed each pulse throb in my head as I murmured, I never received it. Grandpa's grin dimmed. His attorney advanced and placed a hefty pile of records on the surface with a solid thump. And in that split second, prior to any word, I understood somebody at that gathering wasn't meant to be fearful, yet they were. My name is Emma Thompson, and for much of my existence, I believe staying the silent type simplified matters. Silent offspring avoid chaos. Silent offspring preserve equilibrium. And in my household, equilibrium involved feigning all was ideal, even as the base had been fracturing for ages. I resided in a compact flat in Boston with my flatmate Mia. She labored at a local cafe, perpetually carrying a subtle aroma of latte and nutmeg. She alone witnessed my intense efforts during late evenings at my computer, gigging to manage expenses, juggling UI freelance gigs that arrived and departed akin to weather patterns. She teased that I operated on caffeine and pure determination, yet she grasped the reality I lacked any other support. My folks, Susan and Robert, dwelled across the pond in Newton in a dwelling folks might term enviable, impeccable grass, impeccable festive garland, impeccable festive setups, and within a mom fixated on dominance and status. A dad who acquiesced via existence to dodge disputes, and my sibling Sophia, who inexplicably drifted via the globe. Buffered by my folks' fondness and their funds, upbringing, Sophia secured the journey to the elite academy. The flat covered completely so she might concentrate. Whereas, I was informed, self-reliance would forge resilience. When I required aid finalizing a rental due to my slim credit record, my mom stated, "We can't rescue you each occasion, Emma." Each occasion. As though there'd ever been an initial. Nonetheless, I persisted, attending kin suppers, birthdays, festivities. I persisted attempting, since a portion of me adhered to the instances. Grandpa Harold entered my world unobtrusively. Gentle grin, cozy palms, tolerant tone. At age 6, he strolled me beside the coast near the dwelling, and stated, "Someday, I'll ensure you're secure, regardless of occurrences." It evolved into a recollection I gripped without perceiving it as a hint. My 28th birthday supper was intended as straightforward yet refined. Per my mom, the eatery had booked a secluded chamber, radiant golden lamps, crisp linens, crystalware positioned like a brochure image. All seemed orchestrated, akin to the kin snapshot we captured each Thanksgiving, rigid, gleaming, marginally artificial. I showed up post-shift, still in my overcoat, locks mildly tousled from the Boston gust. My mom scanned me once, adjusting Sophia's tresses instead. Sophia beamed at me, utterly oblivious to the undertow. In our kin, supper resembled each other festivity. Sophia chatting of her latest escapade, my mom glowing, my dad imbibing silently, and Grandpa observing all with a look I couldn't decipher. I maintained my bearing firm, as I habitually did, concentrating on slicing my meal rather than eyeing their countenances. I was unaware then, but he awaited the ideal instant, awaited to unleash a fact that would scorch via 25 years of deceptions. Had you queried me an hour prior to the blast if aught felt odd, I'd have replied no. All at that surface appeared agonizingly routine. My mom amending Sophia's stance, my dad feigning to scan the vintage tag, Sophia chortling excessively at her tails. Yet beneath, a shift had occurred for months, and I'd sensed it like a faint vibration in my frame. Supper commenced with the standard understated pokes. Susan remarked on my resourcefulness in that inflection she employed when she desired all to grasp. She deemed my existence a product of bad decisions, not situation. Emma's ever been self-sufficient, she declared, grinning at the duo beside us. She seldom required much from us. She voiced it as a claim, but it struck me like a push. Over the surface, Sophia fiddled her armlet golden fine, the sort of present I'd never obtained. She'd delve into a tale of her weekend escape, an outing my folks funded. My dad snickered, appending, "She merits it post toiling diligently." I winked. Sophia had paused academia for months. I nudged my utensil about my dish, urging myself to inhale. Yet the recollections surged regardless. The instance, my vehicle failed on the expressway, and I pleaded my mom for assistance, since I required it for the subsequent dawn shift. "You're grown," she'd uttered bluntly. Resolve it. I passed that. Eve phoning crisis hall firms, exhausting a charge plate I still reimbursed. The term in university when I couldn't finance manuals, and inquired if they might aid with merely a share. We can't persist rescuing you, she'd uttered. It's unjust to Sophia. Concurrently, Sophia's secondary voyage to Europe was funded entirely prior to her even stowing. Seated at that birthday surface, those recollections didn't merely reemerge. They wove into a design I'd disregarded too long. Grandpa observed me soundlessly as the rest conversed. He invariably discerned when aught was amiss, even as I endeavored to conceal it. As the waiter replenished our vessels and the chamber subdued a touch, he elevated his vintage. And then it transpired. Emma, he uttered softly, why not inform all how you've employed your $3 million inheritance after 25 years? The response was swift. Chuckles, keen, astonished, boisterous. Sophia tittered, presuming it some jest. My mom's visage shifted from bewilderment to alarm, to a rigid beam she affixed like cosmetics. My dad descended his vessel so rapidly it tinkled versus the surface. I sensed chill, not the sort that induces quiver, the sort that empties you internally. What inheritance? I queried. Grandpa's beam wavered. The one I established for you at age 3. My gullet constricted, yet my tone emerged as scarcely a murmur. I never received it. Quietude pulverized the chamber. Sophia's beam disintegrated. My dad's mandible tightened. My mom gazed at me as if I'd uttered in foreign tongue. In that halted instant, I grasped the fact wasn't merely absent. Somebody had seized it. The supper didn't conclude. It merely splintered. One instant, all were immobile in seats. The subsequent, seats rasped, tones entwined, and the chamber sensed too confined to contain the falsehoods cascading into the ether. My mom was foremost to regain. Her beam rebounded into position so swiftly it seemed agonizing. Dad, she uttered to Grandpa, her inflection saccharine and keen. I'm certain Emma misconstrued. She's perpetually been absent-minded. You grasp her manner, absent-minded, as though I'd fabricated 28 years of toiling solo. My dad cleared his gullet, gaze adhered to his dish. Sophia winked repeatedly, endeavoring to assemble an enigma she never knew subsisted. Grandpa didn't eye any of them. He eyed solely me. Emma, he uttered softly, encounter me morrow dawn. My quarters. 10 o'clock. It wasn't an inquiry, and that petrified us all. I departed the eatery ere any could halt me. The frigid Newton breeze struck my torso like a blow. Yet I persisted, strolling the pavement, beyond the luminous panes, beyond clans chortling and reveling. I didn't weep. I didn't shriek. I merely replayed the identical phrase repeatedly. The one I murmured like an admission. I never received it. By the era I attained my vehicle, my palms quivered, my device hummed. Mia, how was supper? She inquired. I parted my lips, and not emerged. Quietude conveyed all. Come, domicile, she cooed. Whatsoever transpired, will entangle it. Yet profoundly, I already comprehended. This wasn't aught I could entangle. This was aught meticulously concealed, scrupulously interred. The subsequent dawn, I boarded the dawn tram into Boston. The metropolis still rousing, mist embracing the pavements, avenue lamps winking out singly. Grandpa's quarters perched on an elevated stratum of a crystal spire, serene and toasty, wafting subtly of pine and ancient tomes. He awaited me in a hide seat, a dossier upon his lap. His look wasn't irate. It was grave or crestfallen. I established an inheritance for you at age 3, he uttered. $3 million designed to guard you, grant you options, liberate you from toil. He halted. You ought have accessed it the instant you hit 18. My core plummeted. 18? I'd expended that birthday laboring a turn at a market. Why was I ignorant? My tone fractured. Why didn't they inform me? Grandpa proffered me the dossier. Within lay an initial review. Rows of extractions, relocations, disbursements, invoices. Most repeated, numerous dubious, all endorsed by identical duo appellations. Susan Thompson, Robert Thompson. My folks hadn't merely obscured my inheritance. They had expended it across 25 years. Dwelling disbursements, residence enhancements, Sophia's FEs, Sophia's flat, getaways, vehicle outlays, opulent acquisitions, all that had eternally been overly costly for me. I sensed a scorch ascend aft my breast. Fury, sorrow, mortification, epiphany, coiling in one fierce tangle. Each era I'd toiled dual employments, each era I'd implored aid, each era I'd gulped the sensation of being overlooked. It hadn't been destiny. It had been pilferage. Grandpa inclined a head. Emma, he uttered, I've engaged a juridical squad. My attorney, Harris, will conduct a thorough review, but I require you to determine the extent. I gazed at the sheets, at the petite, orderly endorsements of the duo meant to shield me. I desire all, I uttered, each entry, each voucher, each coin. I desire the fact. Grandpa inclined once, languid and resolute. Then we'll summon them for a session. I desire presence, I uttered. You shall, he vowed. And for the premiere in my existence, I wasn't the tacit offspring or the overlooked. I was the one advancing toward the blaze. And this era, I wasn't the one to scorch. The session was set for a Thursday eve, the sort of frigid Boston eve where the firmament resembled polished alloy and the breeze sensed ponderous enough to compress into your chest. Grandpa demanded it occur in a secluded discussion chamber. Interior, his edifice. Neutral ground, he uttered. Yet the fact was, he craved each tick of what impended, documented, attested, and inescapable for any to evade. I arrived premature. My palms perspired despite the frost, yet my strides were firm. Mia had embraced me ere I departed the flat, informing me I resembled one entering a tribunal and a renewal concurrently. I was uncertain what that implied until I viewed my image in the lift pane. My bearing was erect, my visage serene, and my gaze bore awe I'd never beheld in myself prior. Determination. As the lift portals parted, Harris awaited. Grandpa's attorney appeared precisely as he had the initial encounter. Neat silver locks, bespoke attire, and a heap of papers, nestled beneath an limb like a subdued menace. He inclined as though he'd already assessed my sentimental condition, and judged it steady, sufficient for what loomed. They're en route, he uttered. I didn't query whom they implied. We both knew. Interior the discussion chamber, Grandpa perched at the apex of a lengthy timber surface. His visage indecipherable, yet the strain in his mandible conveyed he'd scarcely slumbered. As he spied me, his look mellowed marginally, yet it sufficed. He extended for my palm, compressed once then freed. You're not solitary this day, he uttered. The portal oscillated. Ajar. My folks penetrated foremost. Susan hastened, shoulders taut, visage arrayed in that accustomed veil she utilized whenever she needed to seem guiltless. Robert Trail.